I think that we need to approach change at Sony from a multitude of different directions. We need to be faster at decision making. We need to be faster at execution. We also need to have a lot more of a focus on what our core businesses for Sony are going to be going forward into the future. And I've identified those as being the video game and network services.
The earliest rumors of a successor to the PSP started around 2009, with sources close to the project claiming the existence of PSP2 was real. Stronger rumors came to fruition in 2010 when it was reported during the Tokyo Game Show that Sony had officially unveiled the hardware internally at a very private meeting in Tokyo. It wasn't long after that when it was being reported that software development kits were being sent out to developers, but perhaps the biggest break in the streak of PSP2 rumors were leaked photos of an early development kit secured by VG247. The device was said to be as powerful as a 360, with twin analog sticks, an HD screen, forward and rear cameras, and a back trackpad. Final specs were not confirmed, but the kit did reveal a sliding mechanism design much like the PSP Go. However, it was quickly discovered that Sony switched back to a PSP1000-like form factor to keep the unit from overheating. The device was all but confirmed once EA and many other smaller developers openly admitted that they had the device, and they were working away on it. With the looming rumors floating around, Sony was quick to deny any and all speculation, but was open to discussing their goals with future hardware in the portable space. At the time, Sony Computer Entertainment CEO Kaz Hirai had mentioned Sony was planning on offering various playstyles moving forward, one that could cater to smartphone-like touch-based experiences and more traditional games that require buttons and thumbsticks. But at the same time, he also made the distinction that games approaching those different spectrums focus on different audiences entirely, and he wasn't terribly concerned with the advent of phones and tablets on the rise. It's now January 27th, 2011. Sony holds a PlayStation meeting in Tokyo, Japan. The announcement is official. PSP2 is announced with the codename NGP, Next Generation Portable. The company spends an hour and a half detailing the device, showing off games, the UI, and having publishers like Sega and Activision come on stage to pledge their support for the device. But much of what was rumored is shown before the world's eyes. NGP would have an OLED screen, 2 thumbsticks, a front and back touchpad, a front and rear camera, use cartridges instead of UMDs, and tout visuals that rival the PlayStation 3. The system would even be offered in a variant that had a 3G connection. Shortly after the initial product reveal from SCE CEO Kaz Hirai, Sony Worldwide Studios Shuhei Yoshida took the stage to play a small sizzle reel of games that would be coming to the NGP, and the clip was nothing short of incredibly promising. The footage included Hot Shots Golf, Wipeout, Uncharted, Killzone, Resistance, and many more original games, all completely original titles with a console-quality approach. The demo also included games that would make use of both the front and rear touchscreens, as well as an accelerometer and AR with the cameras. The aim was the best of both worlds, much like Kaz Hirai had mentioned before, formally announcing the NGP not too long prior. After the reel of footage, the company jumps right into a demo of Uncharted Golden Abyss, a completely new Uncharted game made from the ground up on NGP. Witnessing such a graphically intensive game like Uncharted play on the go was a surreal moment for many gamers around the world, but Sony was quick to show off how Drake could now be controlled up a rope by using your fingers against the back touchpad. After Uncharted, they showed off Little Deviants, an original title out of Sony's now defunct Big Studios. The game was centered entirely around Sony's back touchpad. Sony's vision for the NGP was more broadly approached after this by demoing the system's user interface, demonstrating the system's ability to have a connected friends list, a PlayStation storefront, and social space for game pages. They reveal Near, a location-based app for the NGP that would track distance and collect data for digital game goods. It would track your friends' habits and deliver or trade digital goods between other users. Sony then invited Capcom on stage to show off Monster Hunter Portable 3, one of the most successful PSP games, being played on the NGP. The system was now confirmed to be backwards compatible with PSP titles that were purchased digitally. The conference ended with the news that an original Call of Duty was planned for the system. a game that would be more tailored to the platform due to the new inclusion of 2 thumbsticks. With the news of a Call of Duty console experience being playable on the go, the NGP was looking built for success.
We announced today, it's very important that we have a very stable platform that is in for the long haul. And that means that we're providing a very compelling value to the consumer in that once they invest in our products, it doesn't go by the wayside in 2 years or 3 years, but they're able to really enjoy that particular console for a very long time. And it's my expectation that the NGP is going to have a similar sort of lifespan, if you will, in the portable space as well.
Let's talk about how this technology that's developed within
E3 2011 was an important show for Sony. Just as they were seeing major success with PlayStation 3, they had a month-long PlayStation Network outage to address. Not only that, but they had to convince everyone in the room and everyone watching why NGP was going to be the next great portable. They started with officially naming the device, PlayStation Vita. What followed was an excellent showing of Uncharted Golden Abyss, Mod Nation Racers, Little Big Planet, and the announcement of Street Fighter Cross Tekken coming to the platform as well. Most notably, Ken Levine, the creator of BioShock, also made a promising announcement.
It's a bit of a pet project of Irrational's, and it's set in the BioShock universe. And this has been kicking around for a few years now. And it's very early days, and the design is still evolving. But recently, we found the right home for it. It's on this guy. On the NGP. And so this is going to be interesting too.
A new IP was also announced to demonstrate one of Sony's greatest visions for the Vita. Ruin, an action RPG, was demoed on PS Vita and PS3, a game where you could save and continue your play on the other consoles seamlessly. As a creative venture between Sony San Diego and Idle Minds, this was very well received amongst viewers. At the very end of the show, it was time for CEO Kaz Hirai to detail the system's price.
And I'm happy to announce that the Wi-Fi only model will retail for $249. Yeah. The 3G Wi-Fi model will retail for $299. PlayStation Vita will revolutionize the portable entertainment experience.
November 2011. It's learned that PS Vita's new proprietary memory cards are fairly expensive and essentially required. Without any onboard memory and most games requiring storage for installs or save files, a new cost is revealed to eager buyers of Sony's latest handheld. At minimum, $20 for a 4GB card, up to $100 for a 32GB card, nearly half the price of the system for the highest storage option. 8GB and 16GB cards would also cost $30 and $60 respectively. A move that didn't sit well with consumers, but a move chosen specifically from Sony to have more control and security to combat piracy, one of the biggest problems the PSP faced in its many years on the market. December 17, 2011. PlayStation Vita officially launches in Japan with 26 games, the most launch games for any hardware launch ever at the time. With strong titles like Uncharted, Disgaea 3, Hot Shots, Ridge Racer, Katamari, the system went on to sell 300,000 units in its first week of availability. With Sony's recent TGS remarks that over 100 games were in development, hopes were high that the system was poised to do well. However, after a few weeks, sales started to decline rapidly, mellowing out to around 12,000 units a week. Now it was time for the North American and European launches. On February 15, 2012, a first edition bundle was released, and a week later on the 22nd, the platform officially launched. After a month, the system sold roughly 200,000 units in the United States. March was worse, with around 50,000 units. By the end of February, however, the cumulative total for the platform was around 1.2 million. The rest of 2012 saw a multitude of high-profile games being released for the system. Games like Gravity Rush, Little Big Planet, Persona 4 Golden, and Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation, all of which were received well. Two highly anticipated games, Resistance Burning Skies and Call of Duty Black Ops Declassified, were major disappointments, both by developer Instigate Games, formerly known as Nihilistic Software. They had previously also done PlayStation Move Heroes for Sony in 2011, and were very likely time-constrained after only wrapping up their last project in 2009, giving them only a few years to release 3 games. By the end of 2012, Sony sold roughly 4 million PlayStation Vitas. 2013 was a turning point for PS Vita. Sony has stopped reporting sales figures, never a good sign from a hardware manufacturer. Many publishers are no longer committing to developing for the platform, and Sony was now gearing up for something far more substantial and important: the PlayStation 4. It was announced February 20th at a meeting in New York City. All eyes were officially moved over to the 8th generation of video game consoles. But the Vita was not left astray. It played a key role in the PS4 vision. Every PS4 game was announced to be remote playable on Vita, a feature which was immediately demonstrated and touted due to the limited ability the feature had back with the PS3 and PSP. Fast forward a few months and Sony officially slashes the price, $200 in North America and €200 in Europe. Memory cards also saw a slightly reduced price across the board. It only took another month for Sony to make another substantial Vita announcement. PS Vita Pch2000 was announced in early September during a pre-TGS conference. The new machine is 20% thinner and 15% lighter. It has 1 GB of internal storage, and battery life was extended by 1 hour. The OLED screen was removed in favor of an LCD screen, and the rear touchpad size was reduced. A new 64 GB card was also introduced, for a steep $100. Vita 2000 was scheduled for an October 10th release in Japan, available in multiple colors. During this time, Sony also announced the PS Vita TV, a micro console that runs the PS Vita's operating system and connects to your television, allowing users to play PS Vita games on the TV with a DualShock 3. The console was priced at $100 and mainly intended to penetrate Asian territories with its cheap entry price and TV streaming services, but it was also widely touted as a great companion device to the PlayStation 4, as the Vita TV could also use remote play much like a regular Vita, except now you'd just be playing PS4 on another TV without the actual PS4 console. PlayStation Vita TV was due for release November 14th, 2013. With the PS4 launched and finding immediate success, the Vita was seeing an entirely different change altogether. Larger budget games were vanishing, and a plethora of independent, smaller-scale games were releasing frequently on the PlayStation Store. Through 2014, this change was solidified with Sony's approach to the handheld. Taking action on the current state of sales, the company shifted focus. Sony's head of worldwide studios, Shuhei Yoshida, had responded to the indie boom on Vita by confirming that Sony would be releasing fewer first-party games and instead focus on third-party. Sony's director of product planning and platform software innovation, Don Mesa, discussed in May 2014 that AAA economics don't work anymore on Vita, and that instead of native AAA Vita games, you could use remote play to play PS4 games, or stream PS3 games on PS Now, Sony's streaming service that was now confirmed to be coming to Vita. Sony was now painting Vita as a companion device in the PlayStation landscape, rather than a gaming device of its own. But with the launch and early months of PlayStation 4, Vita benefited greatly from one dramatically different approach Sony was heavily focusing on: independent developers. The PS4 was designed around x86 and was molded around what developers wanted out of next-generation hardware. It was meant to be easy and accessible by any and all teams. And with this came a forward-thinking initiative to approach developers that typically wouldn't develop for consoles, and offer them free SDKs, funding, or payment plans to help get their games on PlayStation. With PS4 doing so well, this often encouraged many teams to also release PS Vita versions of their games, usually day and date with PS4 versions. This quickly popularized Sony's cross-buy, cross-play, and cross-save features. You buy one version of said game, you get the other version for free. You could save on one game and continue on the other, and you could sometimes play against or with the other version. Many smaller developers quickly realized that with Vita, they could make money. Their budgets weren't that high, and so Vita sales typically exceeded the overhead. One big proponent to constant Vita releases was Shahid Ahmad and Gio Corsi. Ahmad was the strategic content director for Sony Computer Entertainment Europe, and Corsi is the director of third-party production. Both their jobs were, in a nutshell, get games on PlayStation, and many Vita releases lead back to both of them. Games like Nuclear Throne, Spelunky, TXK, Proteus, Ali Ali, and more all come thanks to Shahid's work. Gio Corsi was also known to ask at the beginning of any project if the developer would be open to a Vita version. And with that came a steady amount of constant releases for a platform that on paper was not selling very well. It was simply solidified what Sony had mentioned during their 2013 E3 press conference, which was that Vita buyers are very dedicated to the platform.
In the US, Vita owners have on average purchased more than 10 games.
Japan was a slightly different story. While small-budget indie games were powering the platform in the West, the East was seeing healthier sales figures and a steady stream of Japanese games. Sony's last major PS Vita game, Freedom Wars, released June 26, 2014, and sold 188,000 copies in its first week in Japan. Despite this, Vita's biggest downfall in Japan was Capcom's decision to release Monster Hunter 4 on the 3DS, a series that's widely popular in the territory and single-handedly helped the PSP outsell the DS for the entire year of 2010. But many other games helped the platform keep it afloat. Games like Danganronpa, Persona 4, Ys, Final Fantasy X Remaster, and many visual novels pushes the system sales to the point of market relevancy. Minecraft was perhaps one of the biggest games, selling over 1 million copies in Japan up to the present day. In 2015 was the beginning of what would be a heavy decline for PS Vita. During E3 and again shortly after E3, Sony confirmed they are no longer working on any AAA games for their own platform. The PS Vita TV, which was named PlayStation TV in the West, was officially discontinued. Nier, the GPS-based app that Sony touted at launch, was also discontinued. And while 2015 had the same steady release of quality indie and Japanese games, the platform was slowly fading into obscurity. Games like Warrior's Lair and Bioshock Vita had long been cancelled. Many publishers have left or never even started, and Vita's core services like social apps and PlayStation Mobile were now being shut down. In September 2015, Sony Worldwide Studios president Shuhei Yoshida sat down with Ollie Welsh during EGX 2015 to talk about his 20 years at PlayStation, during which Shuhei was questioned about the possibility of a PS Vita 2.
Because people have mobile phones, smartphones, and it's so easy to just play games on smartphones, and most of games on smartphones are free. So I hope, like many of you, that this culture of playing portable games continue. But the climate is not healthy for now, because of the huge dominance of mobile gaming.
By early 2016, PS Vita TV was now discontinued in Asia. Worldwide sales for the platform were somewhere around 12 to 13 million after 4 years on the market. Despite abysmal sales and the closure of many services, Sony continued manufacturing and general third-party support. Games continued to release on a regular basis, and the system even saw a full release for World of Final Fantasy in October 2016, day and date with the PS4 version. But as the months progressed, big shows like E3, TGS, Paris Games Week, and even PSX passed by with very little mention of Vita, as the company focuses primarily on the very successful PS4 and their very early entry into the VR space with PSVR. And in March specifically, Sony opened a new division called Forward Works. This company would instead work on PlayStation games for iOS and Android. Early 2017 started off with two things: the closure of PlayStation Now on PS Vita and the release of Nintendo Switch, a platform which by and large makes Vita more irrelevant than ever before. However, by June 2017, Sony Interactive Entertainment America President and CEO Shawn Layden said Vita is still a viable platform. Though he openly admitted it couldn't get over the hump in America and Europe, he said the platform is still viable in Japanese and Asian markets, and that it's still his favorite portable and he travels with it all the time. But for gamers and even smaller developers, Nintendo Switch was now the place to look for portable gaming. For the remainder of the year, all eyes were on the Switch as the platform started to see a substantial amount of support from independent developers. Fast forward to early 2018, and Sony announces there will no longer be PS3 or Vita games added to the Instant Game Collection for PlayStation Plus after March 2019. A few months later, Sony announces physical game cartridges for Vita will no longer be produced by 2019 for North America and Europe, but they will continue for Japan beyond 2019. Along this sentiment, Sony Interactive Entertainment President and CEO John Kodera gave the PS Vita a general deadline of 2020, admitting that the platform is essentially over in America and Europe, but will miraculously continue another 2 years in Japan. Today, presently, PlayStation Vita has sold somewhere around 16 million units after 6 years. PlayStation Vita was set for success, and Sony missed the mark. Expensive proprietary memory cards, non-existent marketing, and a quick drop in first-party support all halted the platform's growth substantially. And while all those rang true, Sony still managed to push out Uncharted, Hot Shots Golf, Little Big Planet, Killzone, Tearaway, Soul Sacrifice, Gravity Rush, and a few third-party AAA games all within the first 2 years. It could download PSP games and use the second stick to remap old games and make them better. It supported many PS1 classics from the PlayStation Store and got native remasters for some of the very best PS2 games. The platform had everything for success and yet couldn't make a fraction of the impact the PSP did. It launched with arguably far better games than the PlayStation 3 did, with a much smaller price tag, and ultimately didn't come close to that either. While the 3DS did quite well, it hasn't even reached half the sales of its predecessor. It begs the question, was Sony entirely to blame, or did market conditions also dramatically harm the Vita? It was likely both. And yet for a platform that sold so little, it managed to have a constant stream of games for a full life cycle, with developers who made a living on it, and fans who were incredibly vocal and supportive, and it continues to receive new games today. PlayStation Vita may have failed, but it failed gracefully.